Good morning. Welcome to the Pitch Track Chronicles. I am Uncle Tats. I'm here with Rob and Donald, and we are, believe me, we are fired up. We are looking forward to today's show, as we always are. And it has just been a downward spiral with no light at the end of the tunnel for this team. We always know, we've seen the last few years, the June swoon, as it's now being known in Yankeeville, and now it's turning into July. Even though it was only one day into the month, we were really looking for better fortunes. And it was looking that way as the start of the game, going up 2-0, Max Fried on the mound. Everything was looking like this was going to be the game that things felt more Yankee-like. And unfortunately, on the correct side of it, it was very Yankee-like for the summer months. And there were a lot of decisions made, a lot of plays that were, that were mishandled. This is pretty much the Yankee summer that we've been getting the last couple of years, and it's absolutely unacceptable. But before we get into all of our ranting, just want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. And if you want, hit that sub button if you want to join the conversation in the live chat. If you're watching on Facebook and X, welcome to the show. If you want to sub up, it's easy. Just it's free. Jump into YouTube and join the family over there. And everybody listening on SportsWire Radio, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however you are listening. But with that, Donald, I'm going to toss it to you first because you have just been you've been on fire with a lot of these talking points, and you are. I can see you kind of bouncing in your chair, just waiting. So, Donald, how you feeling, buddy?
Salute to everybody. Salute to you, Uncle Tats and Rob. It's good to have the trio together for this episode. And salute to everyone in the chat. If y'all, before I get rocking and rolling here, if y'all could please take the time to hit that like button, share it out to your friends and family and the strangers on the corner. Let's get absolutely down to brass tacks here. Welcome to the Mr. Bubbles School of Fundamentals. That's all I've got to say to start with. Welcome to the Mr. Bubbles School of Fundamentals, where nothing seems to matter. Nothing seems to matter at all. And guess what? During his seminar, when he teaches the Mr. Bubbles School of Fundamentals, it's very important that nobody is accountable. That is the very first. That's rule number one of his School of Fundamentals. Nobody is accountable. Anthony Volpe. And how about when he made the throw to Jazz that looked like he was skimming stones through the water and it ended up near the Toronto Blue Jays dugout? Guess what he said to that? I'd do it again. I quote, I would do it again. And by the way, that play advanced the runner into scoring position. So it's kind of that's not really a very good thing to do. Oh, there's some plays that you're going to be aggressive. I'm just going to go for that play every single time. I expect to make that play whether it's in the book or not. So whether it's in the book or not, well, there you go. So whether it's in the book of fundamentals or not, I don't care. I'm making it. Well, you don't make it. You can't make that play to third, because you've been doing it. You've been trying to do it for about 2 years now, and you miss it. Just look at the World Series. But there seems to be nothing going on between his ears, because he did it again when he threw to first base that advanced the runner when the runner was already basically safe at first. That advanced the runner into scoring position. Oh, do it again. That's baseball, he said. That's baseball. And this is rule number 2 in the Mr. Bubble School of Fundamentals. To say that's baseball. That's baseball. As if that's going to cover for all the slop that we watch on a daily basis for about, 5 years, 6 years now? Just say that's baseball. That's baseball. And that's what Aaron Boone's been saying. That's baseball. Did you have any issue with Anthony Volpe costing you runs? No, that's baseball. 2 for 17. The runner's in scoring position. Boone, that's baseball. That's baseball. Oh, you're purposely putting DJ LeMahieu, who is like a negative It's like a -1 outs above average at second base. You're uh, and then you put Jazz Chisholm, who you without any reps over to third base, where he's clearly not comfortable. Oh, that's baseball. That's not baseball. That's you. Anthony Volpe throwing to the wrong base. That's you. That's you. That's not baseball. That's you. That's your club. That's what we're hearing all the time. Oh, that's baseball. Oh, it's just a slump. That's baseball. Get yourself thrown out at third base. Make the first and third out on the base pass against the Red Sox at third base. That's baseball. No, that's not baseball. That's you. That's you, Aaron. It's time to start holding yourself accountable, Aaron, because all this stuff is happening under your watch. Everything that we hear from the locker room, they all say the same stuff that you do. That's baseball. I do it again. When it's clearly the wrong play, when it's clearly costing you runs, and you just shrug it off going, well, I'll do it again. No, that's you, Aaron. So when you're like, oh, kind of, how about Jazz Chisholm bunting as a cleanup hitter that cost us a very valuable bat for no reason? What about that bunt when we're down a run? Well, that's baseball. No, that's not baseball. It's you. It's your culture. You've allowed this culture. You've allowed this to happen under your watch. You're the reason why we've lost 12 of our last 18 games, because of this culture that you've cultivated where nobody seems to care. We're getting embarrassed against the Blue Jays, the Orioles, the Red Sox so far this year. The Red Sox, I want to emphasize the Red Sox because they're a really bad ball club. Same with Baltimore. Really bad ball clubs have torched you guys, completely torched you guys. And you just shrug it off. Oh, I don't care. And that's the problem. So while Aaron Boone tries to convince maybe the younger generation that maybe haven't seen the Yankees prior to Aaron Boone, let us, the Pinstripe Chronicles, help you. I can confirm prior to Aaron Boone's taking over, it's not baseball. It's you. Because I've watched this team for decades. It never happened under Joe Torre. Never. It didn't even happen under Joe Girardi. It didn't happen under Buck Showalter. It's under you. You have allowed this to happen. You have allowed the lack of accountability. You've allowed the poor production runners in scoring position because you just don't seem to care. You're the one that's punting games to prepare for series in the future, and then you lose that series. Anyway, you shrug it off. You're the one that's in charge of an organization that got laughed at during the World Series. What did the Dodgers call it? Yankee defense. That's what they called it. Yankee defense. That's not baseball, Aaron. That is you. That comes from you. You are the figurehead to this. You are the figurehead to this. You're the one that's allowing Anthony Volpe to make all the wrong play, all the wrong reads, and for him to just shrug it off going, I'd do it again. You're the one that's allowing it. Because maybe as a young kid who needs to learn and needs some direction, needs some management, maybe if you actually held him to some level of accountability, maybe he wouldn't be such a disgraceful shortstop that he is right now. No, it's baseball. It's not baseball. It's you. It didn't happen before you. You can gaslight us all you want, Aaron Boone. You can gaslight us all you want, but I saw the Yankees before, and I've seen the Yankees. I'll see the Yankees long after you, and I can confirm it's not just baseball. It's not just baseball. It's you. Hold yourself accountable. Then hold your club accountable. Absolutely disgraceful effort, and I am sick to the absolute teeth watching this team. It's been years of the same shit. The same shit. Lack of fundamentals. I don't seem to care. Who cares? Hold yourself accountable. This didn't happen before you, Aaron. It doesn't happen with Rob Thompson in charge of the Phillies, right? So it's obviously not baseball. It's you.
Good morning, Rob.
Good morning. Yeah, I mean, I can't really top that. It's everything Donald just said there is pretty much spot on. It's not just baseball if it happens every year at the same time.
Right.
You know, if it was a case where one year it was May, the next year it was September, the next year it was July, you'd be like, oh, every team does go through a lull, but it's every year at the same time with the exact same issues. How is it that 4 straight seasons now, this team has started off well, and then the calendar turns to June and they forget how to hit, they forget how to pitch, they forget how to field, they don't run the bases. Why is Jazz bunting? That infuriated me more than anything else this weekend so far, or this week so far. Nothing makes sense, and then you hear the response from the manager and you hear the response from the players. Anthony Volpe is the poster child of this right now. He's in year number 3. He's shown very little to no improvement. In fact, he may have regressed in his biggest strength, which was his defense. He's definitely regressed in defense, and he's okay with it because that's the process. How are we accepting this? I know we're not accepting it as fans. I know most people around baseball wouldn't accept this, but the Yankees are okay with it. And that's the problem there. This is a team with a $300 million payroll. They have the best player in the world. They have a former MVP in Cody Bellinger, former MVP in Paul Goldschmidt. You have a 30-plus home run type of bat in Jazz Chisholm. You have a near 500 home run hitter in Giancarlo Stanton. And you're not scoring any runs. You can't hit with guys on base. You can't move runners over. And Anthony Volpe, who was a top 5 prospect in the sport, can't get better offensively. He can't even be a league average bat for the duration of his first 3 seasons. He's been below league average, and I know for a stint this year he was above league average, but look how bad he's been. The team follows the leadership. And if as a leader you're going to tell people it's okay, then they're going to be like, okay, well, I can do whatever I want. Why is it that Austin Wells has not gotten any better? He's gotten worse. I'm afraid for the young players that are coming up in the near future, like Spencer Jones and George Lombard, because we have high expectations for them. But when they get here, what's going to happen? Is Spencer Jones going to be a 650 OPS player with a few home runs sprinkled in because he's not playing every day? Is George Lombard going to start throwing the ball over the infield and they're going to be okay with it? It's none of the things this organization does makes any sense, and the fact that this keeps happening every year around the exact same time, and Aaron Boone says, we'll have this conversation next year and the year after that and the year after that and the year after that. They are okay with it because they're still in first place. They're still not running away with it, but they're still in the lead of the division. And if we've watched baseball long enough, we know that at some point this year they're going to start winning games. And Doran, I saw your comment earlier. They're slumping. They're slumping at the right time, not when it happens 4 years in a row.
Yeah,
I can understand it if it was sporadically at different parts of the season the last 4 years, because that is baseball. Every team does it. Every good team will go through those lulls. That is part of the game, but not every single year at the exact same time. Why is it this team is the process works in May, the process works in April. But why is it that when June rolls around, they can't field, they can't throw, they can't hit, they can't pitch? Why is the process, and why do you stick with that process? Because it'll just go back to normal in July? Well, guess what? We got shellacked yesterday on July 1st. We'll probably get shellacked again today. And we'll limp into the All-Star break. They'll pick up some random guy off waivers like Candelario to play third. And they'll be like, okay, there's our bat. Because they're going to play it cheap. Because even though they say there's no budget, there is a budget. And they don't want to go over a certain amount. It's a problem. This organization's philosophy has been a problem. This is a good team that should be a hell of a lot better, but the way that they're run, they're accepting mediocre play to embarrassing play. They're embarrassing themselves in front of the entire world, and they're just kind of like, we don't care. They were told, the entire world was told by the team that beat you up in the World Series what your issues were. And Aaron Boone said, we're going to go back to that because Jazz Chisholm apparently is a better third baseman. He's not. He never was. And you had the recipe for success because it worked. You had everyone in position. We talked about this the other day with me and Donald. We talked about this before when they were thinking about making the decision. It doesn't make sense. Jazz should stay at second because when he was healthy, even though his bat wasn't there the first couple of weeks, his defense was, and Anthony Volpe's defense was there. They made a very good pair in the middle of the infield. You had a third baseman at third. You had a great first baseman. Everything clicked. You were preventing runs. Your entire philosophy this offseason was to prevent runs, and it was working because you had guys in position. And then you put everything out of whack. You have a below-average second baseman. You have a bad third baseman. Your shortstop has completely plummeted into one of the worst defensive shortstops in the sport now when his strength was his defense, and now you have three guys throwing it all over the place to a 38-year-old first baseman who's trying to save his life out there. And this is a brand of baseball that we're supposed to be accepting of? I'm not accepting of it. I'm embarrassed watching them play. I laughed when I saw the Grands. I said, okay, well, I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my day doing something else. I don't know what the hell I was going to do next, but I said, I can't watch this. I can't watch this because this is the brand of baseball that they're promoting, and then they go out and say after the game that they're okay with it, basically. Mm-hmm. How are you okay with it? You are the New York Yankees. I know, 27 championships. We haven't won since 2009, but you have 27 of those bad boys. You know what it takes to win. Aaron Boone almost was part of a team that won it. He knows what it takes to get there, at the very least. Brian Cashman was the GM for that dynasty. He helped put together that team. He was on the crew with Stick that put together that team. He knows what it takes. And yet, they're just kind of like, it's okay if we struggle for a month because we're going to probably play better in August and they're going to forget about June. No, because those problems will come back to bite us in the ass because they have every single year. Even though we bounced back in 2022, what did we do in the playoffs that year? We got swept. Yep. We didn't make the playoffs in 23. What happened last year? We bounced back, yeah. What happened when we got to the World Series? We got outclassed. So what's to say it won't happen again this year? I'm sure the Yankees will start winning games again because they have a good roster. They will. They will absolutely start winning games again. I wouldn't be shocked if they win the division. It would not surprise me one bit. But what would not surprise me as well is when they get to October and these decisions that they make and this sloppy play that they have comes back and rears its ugly head in a big spot in the postseason. Like J.C. Escarra with 2 catcher's interferences in back-to-back games, and he's still playing. I like J.C. Escarra, but you still have Ben Rice that can catch. And you had Boone in the dugout kind of digging into him after that, and he played the next day. Anthony Volpe throwing it all over the infield. I'm going to do it again, and he plays the next day. It's going to happen again in October. We've seen this. It's like watching a TV show. Every year the cast changes, but the same exact thing happens in the middle of the season. You're like, oh, so they're going with this story again. It's like watching the fucking Nightmare on Elm Street movies. You know it's a different cast of kids. Few of them are going to die, but at the end of the movie, a couple of them are going to escape when they think there's no chance of escaping. It's the same exact story every single movie, but we watched it, and we're watching it again.
No, it's a great analogy because the Yankee script has been the same in the Boone era. Hot start, shitty summer. They start to get a little improved as we get into the fall, and then the playoffs come and it's a crapshoot. Where's the lie in that timeline? It's the same stupid shit all the time. And it all comes down to one word: accountability. We ranted the other day, earlier. The whole thing with last Friday with Jazz getting thrown out of the game. And then I said, I don't care what the result was for the following game. I wanted him benched for that. You can't carry that attitude into the following frame. You got to let it go. They can't. And what happened? He was a contributor to the game. That's fine. I still wanted him out. So, it'd be easy if he had.
By the way, Volpe did the same thing, just like
but then Volpe, you're getting yourself thrown out. You don't have the equity in the fan base right now to be acting the way acting that way. Right? Take him. When was the last time you saw a Judge? Of all the terrible calls he's gotten in the strike zone in his career, that he's thrown a temper tantrum.
Soft culture. Exactly.
And that's the biggest freaking problem. Because they're going to be able to play the next day. And if you play well, watch, I guarantee you, I can almost bet now that Dominguez is getting sat today. Because he had a good game yesterday. So, we can't let anybody get hot.
Well, that's another thing, of course.
And you wonder why the Yankees in this tailspin. Like I said, can the Yankees still win the division? Yeah. Am I as optimistic as I am, even though we're through June? No, I'm not. I'm not feeling good about this team this year.
No. There's something.
I've tried, you guys have known, some of you in the chat that have been around for a while. I'm usually I try to come off as optimistic as I can. Right, because that's baseball. Yeah, it's baseball, Susan. But this is not baseball. This is little league shit. The problems that this team is facing right now are little league problems, not big league problems. Big league problems is going 0 for 4, but you hit it on the screws 4 straight times, and yet maybe you had a homer robbed. That's baseball. Not being able to throw, get a ground ball and throw to first base, that's little league problem. Not knowing how many outs there are, little league problem. Not knowing how to run the base, little league problem. Not knowing how to have a consistent freaking lineup.
Dude, there was nobody backing up third base when Bellinger threw to Chisholm and Jazz couldn't make the play. There was nobody behind him because nobody backs up third base. Something that you get taught in middle school.
Yeah. I actually made the joke with one of my coworkers. I said my nephew's little league team can beat this club right now.
Right.
That's how bad it's looking. And congratulations to my nephew's team. They just won their regional championship. Yeah, congratulations to you guys. Sal, proud of you. But it's really just gotten to that point. It's like, why watch the game? We watch because we're fans. We know it's to go back to Rob's horror movie reference, right? We know at some point we're going to be scared during the movie, but we watch anyway because it's what we enjoy doing. But I'm not enjoying watching the Yankees play like this day in, day out. I mean, this is probably one of the worst stretches we've seen in the Boone era. And that's going back to last August. Because of just how this team is just mentally collapsed. There's no it's like they're not playing with any drive. There's no heart. And that to me is where we seriously need some fundamental changes. Why is Jazz still at third base? Right? The wiggle room for him to adapt is done. It was, last year it was out of necessity for a point where we needed him in the hot corner. He's not adjusting to it the way that at the pace that the Yankees need him to for the team to stay sustainable on the standings. Put him back at second base where the fucking guy belongs.
Please.
I would rather have Peraza's defensive glove at third base with his batting average the way it is, but at least I know I'm defensively sound in the infield. But no, we're not going to do that. We'll put DJ at third, whose range is gone. You can see, he came back in a hot clip, and we enjoyed it. But we also, that also came with a warning. This is not going to be sustainable for DJ. He needs to be a bench player. He needs to go back to my original plan.
Needs to be DFA'd.
That goes. Now we're already talking. Instead of talking about, we have a big stretch of games coming up that can really make or break our season. Is if we get hot now, they're going to think, oh, everything is we've all corrected it. They don't need to have a aggressive deadline. And then we also could have where there's one of those collapses where the players that we're looking to move on from have no value. And the Yankees have put themselves in this corner that they can't crawl out of.
Because they don't hold themselves accountable. Let's get back to what you said about Jazz Chisholm. Let's talk about this. Now, Chris Kirshner does have an article on The Athletic. I know there's some that are behind a paywall, so won't be able to see it. So I can help you with that. Here's what we learned from Chris Kirshner. Jazz Chisholm told him that the Yankees explicitly told him that he was their second baseman for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Explicitly told, you're only going to be playing second base. Thus, the entire offseason, the entire spring training, he only worked at second base in his off-season drills. Imagine doing that to someone. So Jazz Chisholm says, everybody knows I'm a second baseman. Of course I want to play second base, but whatever it takes to help the team win. If that's what the team chooses, that's what I got to do. I don't write the lineups. You feel me? How does that make Aaron Boone look good? So there's a few things here that we have to unpack. Why did the Yankees make that decision? Right? It doesn't make any sense, for one. Okay, but let's try and rationalize this. Did they have no plans on DJ LeMahieu making the team in his return from injury? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my first question. Did they not expect DJ LeMahieu to return from injury? Because if their overall whole plan was for Jazz Chisholm to play second base, why did it suddenly change on a fly because DJ LeMahieu was available in May? Did they not plan for that during spring training or prior to spring training or prior to December? Did they not plan for that? Do you know what I'm saying? That's the first question I want to ask. Because it doesn't make sense. If their whole plan was Jazz Chisholm playing second base,
then why is he not playing second?
Then why is he not playing second? Just because DJ LeMahieu is available? Were they not planning for DJ LeMahieu to be available? And if not, why not? And why are you catering? And this is what Chris Kirshner points out in the article. And he says it's absurd, and he's right. And I'm glad someone has the balls to say it. He called it mind-boggling what Aaron Boone's doing. And it is mind-boggling. I hope Aaron Boone read it and enjoys it. Because it is freaking mind-boggling what he's doing. So, this mind-boggling decision, DJ LeMahieu played third base before this season. So why can't he play third base now? What difference is it going to make? He's not going to hit if he's playing second. So you might as well have him at third and have Jazz in his natural position, who you're kind of all in on. You just give up Agustin Ramirez, who's crushing it in Miami, in order to bring Jazz Chisholm in, and you're not playing Jazz Chisholm in his natural position? You're making Jazz look worse than he actually is, and it's completely unfair on that kid who's playing for a new contract. It doesn't make sense. The guy's in his prime. He's a good second baseman. In fact, metrically, he was in the top 3 American League second basemen prior to that move. And then you swap him over to third base, where he's actually ranked one of the worst third basemen because he's had no reps. It doesn't make sense. I want Aaron Boone to answer that question. What made you think that was the right thing to do? And his answers are, again, I'll use the word mind-boggling. He's just not locked in at all. I'll think about it. When he was asked what you're planning on doing with third base, I'll think about it. Boone, when asked if there's any consideration of moving Jazz back to his natural position, he goes, we'll talk through that stuff. Does he feel like, this is the best question, does he feel like the current setup is the best alignment? I think both guys are really talented. We'll continue to look at it. That's baseball, Susan. No, that's you, Aaron.
It's ridiculous. And remember what happened a few years ago when they switched Glaber back to second base and he immediately improved?
Right.
Like, why are we not learning from our previous history from just a few years ago? Aaron Boone was the manager when they did that. They realized their mistake far too late, but they did realize their mistake. They put Glaber back where he needed to be, and Glaber became a much better player. And Gio Urshela, thankfully, was able to play a good shortstop, and then obviously the next year they decided, let's go get IKF. But they were the guys that made that decision. And the simple answer to why they keep making these decisions and they're not going back on it, and why this guy's playing this position, why they're catering to DJ, just to quote everyone's favorite president, they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what they are doing. And it's a problem. It's a joke. How is it that you have a very good second baseman playing third right now, and you have a washed up, well past his prime, constantly injured, a flash in the pan every few days, DJ LeMahieu starting every day? I get Peraza's not that good right now. He's not taking advantage of his opportunities, but he's damn better at third base than Jazz Chisholm. I don't care, Sunil. It was a joke, so it's isn't a political thing. I don't give a fuck who your favorite president is. It's one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard. So, because it rings true. What he said is perfectly aligned for what the Yankees are doing right now. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Right.
It's a joke.
Yes. Chris Kirschner's actually got the statistics here. Okay? So if Aaron Boone just wants to call it, it's baseball. Oh, it's the turf. Oh, it's the wind. Right? Here's the statistics to back it up, right? Yankees infield alignment. LeMahieu at second base, Volpe at short, Chisholm at third base. Guess what the batting average for the opposition is? 310. 310 batting average with that alignment, right? Rewind back to frickin' May, right? Yankees infield alignment. Chisholm at second, Volpe at short, Peraza at third base. Batting average against 191. There you go, analytics people. Why are you not telling Aaron Boone that? Because he's Mr. Puppet. Well, he's ignoring the analytics because the analytics is saying that the batting average against is 191 when you get guys playing their natural position.
Where's the mic? Just drop it there.
Yeah. All right. And that's going to wrap things up. No, look, it's this team is there's so many flaws. We could sit here until Friday's show and go over it all. But, the bad part is a few of these defensive miscues are actually also costing, we haven't even gotten to any of the pitches. And the efforts that, and the way that they have pretty much carried this team as best they can. Because you'll see an outing like we look at yesterday with Fried or with Rodon, or Warren, Schmidt, these guys, the Stroman's return. gets overshadowed by their efforts because everything else behind them is a complete fucking shit show. Right? Yeah, it sucks that Fried had of all days to have his one of his worst starts, his worst starts since the Dodgers series. Right? So you're talking in a whole series right now going into July, he's had 2 starts that we just want to forget ever happened. 2. And this is a team that's clinging to first place. Schmidt pitching out of his mind. Warren having eye test, a pretty solid rookie season on the mound. Rodon shutting up a lot of haters. The only one that still doesn't like him too much is the manager for pulling him after 88 pitches. And that could be analyzed in a multitude of ways, as we've already talked about. Stroman, everybody hates Stroman. Nobody wants to see his face again. And he's very prominent on social media. He sees all the negativity. And he still balled out and pitched a pretty good game. The bullpen's been suspect, but we still have our key pieces that we can rely on as long as they're being put in the positions where they're supposed to be put in. Mark Leiter Jr., as much as he's been very he's underperformed. He's had 1 or 2 outings that he's looked okay. Somebody was like, all right, he's not the worst option. And then they go and they pitch him back-to-back games where he's throwing 40 pitches. And they want to know why his arm's falling apart. And why he's having command issues. So as much as, sometimes Boone does have to get credit for, some of his managements with the bullpen that we saw in the postseason last year, that's a very small sample size of Boone's actual being able to manage. They got to be able to.
What bullpen moves helped last season, considering it was the move that put Nestor Cortez in the pitch against Freeman, and then
that was the postseason, not the World Series.
That was in the playoffs.
I separate the 2 of them.
So I don't think his bullpen management is very good.
That postseason run to the World Series, he actually made a lot of the right moves.
On the World Series.
Well, no, and that's the biggest stage. Yeah, the postseason of the World Series, I always mentally separate.
Well, all of his moves that would have been good in the first 2 rounds were completely erased when he brought in Nestor Cortez.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
It doesn't matter how well he managed in the DS and the CS, because when he got to the big stage, game 1, we would have won that series most likely if he brought in. I know Tim Hill isn't the greatest relief pitcher in the world, but when it comes to those spots, he's about as good as we have. Bases loaded, he gets everybody out.
I still have trust in him.
Right.
Is he going to come through every time? No.
But my point is, we can't be looking at his bullpen moves from last year and be like, well, he's done it before, because he really hasn't. His bullpen management has been awful. I mean, absolutely awful for 8 years now. This is his 8th season, and he's been blessed with some damn good relief pitchers. He hasn't had Rivera, but he's also had prime. I don't want to say prime, but he still had a damn good closer in Chapman. He's found a way to ruin that, overuse him. He's had good he's got Devin Williams this year. He had Luke Weaver. We had Clay Holmes for a while, who was pitching out of his mind, and he found a way to not make a change when needed. His bullpen decisions are terrible. So, I mean, if we're trying to find a way to give him any sort of credit, you can't right now. The team is playing terrible baseball, and he's making decision after decision after decision that is directly impacting the way this team is playing. Donald said it the other day. I've said it a few weeks ago. Once that decision to switch Jazz to third base happened, the team fell apart. And that was on Aaron Boone. That was his decision. Even with Cabrera hurt, you can't use that excuse, because you had 3 guys on the roster that could have played third base. One of them's thankfully not here anymore, in Pablo Reyes, but you could have still had Peraza play third, you could have had DJ play third, you could have kept Vivas, he could have played third, or you could call up Rodriguez, who's killing it still, and have him play third base. You had options. And yet you decided to switch something that did not need to be switched. You broke something that did not need to be broken. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It wasn't broke. The Yankees motto, as we have been saying for years, Tats, you've said it all the time. What is it? What is your saying that you say all the time? If it's not broken, break it.
Fix it. Yep.
And the Yankees broke it. They broke the infield alignment, and they are playing the worst brand of baseball. Every year around this time, they continue to do this to us. And I think when they decide to finally, when Boone gets his head out of his ass and makes the change to put Jazz back at second, it would not surprise me if magically things get a little bit better. Will they start winning 5 in a row? Probably not, but they still have to hit. But that little change can fix so many of these teams' problems because they keep doing it. The Dodgers told us, they said, like you said, Donald, Yankee defense. Put the ball in play, the Yankees will beat themselves. That's what the Dodgers said. And what happened yesterday? Both Blue Jay rallies started with bad defense.
Right.
With good defense, we win that game.
And further to that article and further to your argument, Jazz Chisholm says that he still doesn't know the intricacies of the position at third base. He says it would have been better had I gotten some reps in the offseason. He's saying it. He's pleading it.
Yep.
Your player is pleading. He's like, I'm a second baseman. I'm being hung out to dry because he is being hung out to dry. He's being hung out to dry. Now, you might not love Jazz's outspoken personality. I don't really care. For this particular instance, he's being hung out to dry. And this is what the only reason why Aaron Boone got hired and he keeps getting extended upon extended upon extended is apparently because of his communication with his players. Well, I think his communication with his players are deeply overrated because this was a perfect example where he's not really communicating with them. He lied to him. You're our second baseman. Only prepare for second base. He did that. Throws him over to third base for no reason to comfort a 36-year-old who is a -1, outs above average, and he's an 82 at weighted runs created plus. So he's 18% below average. Why are you catering to DJ LeMahieu? He's 36 years old.
Makes no sense.
Exactly. And by the way, Mark Leiter is a problem because he has a 1.59 whip this season, right? And according to Katie Sharp, that ranks 150th out of 157 AL pitchers. So he's not good either.
No, but that was partly where I was trying to head. I just kind of my thought.
Well, Taz is gone again. Let's get back to where we were talking about Jazz Chisholm.
Why are we not utilizing other arms? Because they're not that good either. Well, Weisiger's trying to make his way back from his injuries. He hasn't pitched in a while. So I don't want to get too much on the Weisiger just yet. There's still time. The verdict's still out on what he's going to be able to do this year. But outside of Hill, Weaver, and Williams, there's not many people I'm like, okay, if he's coming in the game, I feel like we're still in it. And you can't have 3 out of your 13 arms be guys that and be guys that you're going to lean on. It's not sustainable.
I mean, there's only so many ways you can spin it. It's just bad baseball. You can't pinpoint on just one player. And you can look at Volpe, and he's been kind of the poster child of it, but it's not all his fault. He's been terrible, but this entire team. Judge has been on a bit of a slump, but I can't really blame him because he's the one that's carried this team for the first few months of the season. But the bullpen's been bad, the defense has been bad, the manager's a fucking moron, so this is what you have. This is what you have. And
moron, I have to say.
It's going to change. I'm not going to sit here and say the season's over because we've seen this exact same story play out. They're going to start winning games again. And it's going to change their mentality it's going to kind of affirm that their process is still great. And they're going to say, see, it was just a June swoon like it is every year. We'll talk about it next year. And they're going to be fine with that. But they shouldn't be fine with that. That's the thing. That is my biggest issue. I don't want to speak for anybody else. That is my biggest issue with this team. They are okay with playing this embarrassing brand of baseball because they know eventually, whether it be middle of July or starting in August, once they make one trade or two, they're going to start winning. And Aaron Judge is going to go nuclear again. He will, because he's too good not to. He's going to end up with 50 home runs again. He's going to save this team once again. And they're probably going to win the division. If they don't, they'll be right there and they'll make the playoffs anyway. And they're going to be okay with that. They shouldn't be. That's my problem, is they are very, very complacent. There's that word again. They are exactly. And it's not the way this team should be operating. They should be looking to beat the living shit out of you every single day to establish dominance, to when you have to play them, you'd be like, uh-oh, we got to see the Yankees. And so when you got to play your best baseball against the Yankees, because right now a team could be losing 10 in a row. They go, we got the Yankees coming up, so it's a get-right series. The Yankees are a get-right series for a lot of teams around this time of year, every single year under Aaron Boone, and they're okay with that. And that's my problem. I don't have a problem. The roster construction's not perfect. I don't like the rotation of players. I want Dominguez in there every day, but we talked about this before. I understand why they have to get guys playing time. This is not a terrible team. They should not be playing this badly. But it's reflective of the way they are coached, the way that they are put together, and the organization's philosophy. Their process that doesn't work, it is taught from the top to the bottom. And that's why this team is very, very satisfied with just being in first place when they should be 10 games up. They were running away with the East, and it's a one-game lead that will probably end now. At the end of the day, it'll be in a tie. That's how bad they're playing, and they're okay with that because Aaron Boone is telling you, without saying the words, I'm okay with it, he's telling you he's okay with it.
Yeah, this was the perfect stretch of games starting back to the first Boston series. You had a 3-week stretch where you could have just put everybody in the AL East in your rear view. Instead, they're like, no, come on, there's plenty of room on the front of the bus. Everybody, come on. Free buses for everybody. We're going to take a ride to the top of the division. And it's not the way you're supposed to, like you said, we're not supposed to be the team that other teams want to face. We shouldn't be a get right series team. We should be oh shit, they're coming. How are we going? We better watch double the amount of film because the Yankees are coming to town. Meanwhile, they're just watching, highlights from last year and so far this year and going, all right, just hit it to this guy and you'll be fine. Just hit it to the shortstop. Or, hit a line drive ground ball to third base, on the bag side, and he's not going to be able to have the range to get it to first base. It's just a complete collapse of fundamental baseball.
It's because, as Rob pointed out, this is what's being preached from top to bottom. This is their organizational philosophy. This is their process. And it's an incredibly self-satisfied process. They are very, very satisfied with this. Because they'll just look at it and say, hey, we're first place. Even Aaron Judge said that. Oh, we're first place. I don't really care. We're first place. But it's about practicing the right habits. So when you lose, I want to see the right habits being practiced because that'll help you when you're actually winning. You practice the right habits. So, of course, you should be calling them out for it, but they just don't accept any responsibility. They're very self-satisfied with everything. So, for instance, during this disastrous run, where it's really embarrassing baseball, it's as bad as you're ever going to see, the Yankees will be like, well, it's baseball. Aaron Boone keeps saying it. It's baseball. It's baseball, right? Okay, so when they do finally win, right, at some point, maybe at the end of July, maybe in August or whatever, they maybe win for a week or so, and then they'll be very self-satisfied again. See, I told you, as Rob points out.
Yeah, nothing to worry about, nothing to see here.
Right? And then absolutely guarantee that when we go into the playoffs and we lose, which we will, it'll be the same excuses again. Oh, it was the turf, or it was the roof being open, or it was that person's exit velo. It was just bad luck. That is the Yankee way. That is the Yankee way. It involves taking no accountability whatsoever. That's the Yankee way right now. No accountability whatsoever. Do you know what's doing the rounds right now? When Brian Cashman was yelling at Joel Sherman about Anthony Volpe. Not about Anthony Volpe, about his development, his lack of development, right? Which is now glaring. Okay. And then you saw the video of him just yelling at that he's like, I'll just wait till Anthony Volpe absolutely matches next year. Well, 3 years later, how's that working out for you, Brian? But again, it speaks to very self-satisfied. He's just sitting there like, yeah, I just developed a fantastic shortstop. Well, how's that working out for you? He's got below average range right now. He's got one of the worst arms I've ever seen for a shortstop. And he's in the 46th percentile in fielding. So how's that working out for you? Very self-satisfied. They're very, very happy with this. You know, Jazz Chisholm is pleading to be moved back to his natural position. But by the way, you can't unbreak the egg. So I'm not even sure if they did move him back to his natural position that it'll just suddenly click back into place again. I'm sure it'll be 99 times out of 100 much better. But they've done so much damage to him. Is that going to carry over? Because that's what happened with Gleyber Torres. When they moved him, they did so much damage putting him at shortstop, where he was basically completely like a fish out of water. Then they moved him back to second. He was so much better, but still it did damage to him. They've just done exactly the same thing to Jazz Chisholm, but they don't take any accountability because they're very self-satisfied. They're very proud of themselves. They think we're great. Brian Cashman, what did he say? I'm very proud of our process. What is this process that you're proud of? They don't win. Now, if your idea of winning is just to make the playoffs and then losing, that's not my idea of winning. It might be your idea of winning, but it's not really the Yankees' idea of winning.
Be careful, Jeff Passett might not like to hear you say
right.
that.
Well, fuck them.
Yeah,
I mean, they're just incredibly self-satisfied, and they have a line of excuses when they just need to throw them out there. I mean, Aaron Boone was blaming the turf yesterday, and Jazz Chisholm went against him, where he says, "No, it's not the turf. I'm actually not comfortable." Right? I wonder what Aaron Boone's going to say to that. So it's
baseball.
It's just they're self-satisfied. And by the way, Cursor asked him about Anthony Volpe's defense, and then Aaron Boone said that Anthony Volpe's the elite shortstop in the American League, and he said that no, not just American League, baseball. And he also said that it was just 2 or 3 plays that he's missed, just 2 or 3.
More like 12 or 13.
If he only had 7 errors, he said, well, if it was only 7 errors, he'd be totally in line. But he's only 2 or 3 out, right? I mean, first of all, that's a complete lie. It's gaslighting. He also has 11 errors, not 10. But it's also gaslighting because he's not elite in his position. Mr. Analytics Guru, all he needs to do is go on the Baseball Savant page and it tells him that he's definitely not elite in his position, right? In fact, statistically, at the moment, he's below average, right? Oh, he's elite. He's only missed 2 or 3 plays. He's not just missed 2 or 3 plays. He's also missing another aspect. Major League Baseball have put a directive that if there is a hard hit ball that's misplayed by the fielder, but it's hard hit enough, just call it a single. So the truth is, Volpe would have another 5 or 6 errors on top of that because he's gotten very generous calls. And then you add the fact that Goldschmidt has been playing like fucking Spider-Man at first base.
Poor guy.
Right? You could add another 5 or 6 misplays onto that. Right? So that 11 errors is incredibly generous. If you want to go further, he's got the worst fielding percentage in the American League. That is not elite. That is a self-satisfied. But, I mean, I know that he defends his player. I don't have a problem with it. But when it gets to the point where he's clearly not good at his position, he desperately needs to be held accountable for making the wrong reads, I need my manager to start holding him accountable because it'll help him. It won't hurt him.
And there's proof of the regression, too. That's the
Right.
thing. There's proof that there's regression there. Anthony Volpe, for the first 2 months, was actually having a fine season. Offensively, he was above average. Defensively, he was well above average. And then the calendars turned to June. He's blue in everything. How does that happen? There's no accountability. There's no days off in the middle of a slump. Instead, you give him a day off after his best game of the season. So tell me how that process is supposed to work. Again, he doesn't have a feel for the pulse of the game. This game does have a pulse, and he doesn't listen to it. He doesn't listen to the heartbeat of the sport, because if he did, he would have waited a day to sit Anthony Volpe. He would have sat him in the middle of his generational slump that he was having. He was terrible. He's been terrible for an entire month now. But before this month of June, there was really very little to complain about with Volpe. His defense was fine. He was offensively, he was doing fine. Even his biggest critic was like, that was a fantastic play he made, one of the better plays I've seen from a shortstop. All of a sudden now, he's probably the worst player on the field in a team that's losing every single game. Tell me how that works. This is your third-year top prospect, and he's shown little to no progression in a lot of different areas. That's scary. So what's going to happen for the next one? And the next one, and the next one. I'm supposed to believe that the Yankees are going to treat Lombard differently and Spencer Jones differently? No. I'm terrified. I said this already in the show. I'm terrified for when those kids get called up, because they're not going to treat them right. They're not going to give them the tools to get better. I'm okay with playing Volpe every day if you're doing the things to help him progress. And I thought we were seeing that this year, and then they changed everything around with the infield alignment, and it's affecting everybody. And that's a problem. And I'm also getting real sick of this. It's all about the money stuff, because if they were winning, they'd make more money. It's as simple as that. It's about the money. It's a business. But if you win games, you make more money. Because if the Yankees are winning, people are going to buy the jerseys. They're going to go to the games. The Yankees are going to sell out no matter what. But if you're in the playoffs and you're in the World Series, you're going to make even more money. So winning brings money. So they're not okay with just getting there and then losing and be like, oh, we made enough money this year. No, they want to make more money. So you bring in the superstars so people want to see those guys play. It's just, there's proof. Last year is proof that you made it to the World Series and you made a hell of a lot more money than the year before because you were playing longer.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true. But let's circle back to the point about Volpe. And this is where Aaron Boone loses me as a manager, right? It's not that I want him to be Billy Martin, and it's not that I want him to pin people against the freaking wall and beat the shit out of them. I'm not asking for that. It doesn't need to be so black and white as that. What I need from my manager is to nip shit in the bud. And Volpe's season started to spiral dramatically. Not just a little bit, but dramatically in that Red Sox series, where he was the reason why they got embarrassed and swept and just made a fool out of themselves, because he was making all the wrong plays at short and he was making all the wrong reads on the base paths. That is when I need my manager to nip it in the bud. Now, he doesn't need to call him out publicly. You can hint towards it, but what I really need him to do is to sit down and talk to him and nip it in the frickin' bud. But he doesn't do it, because he's given Anthony Volpe as long a leash as I've ever seen. And that's probably why I'm so mad at Volpe and I'm so mad at this situation, because I've never seen anyone given his kind of leash before, ever. I'm long in the tooth with watching the Yankees, and I've never seen this level of, like, I'm all right with it. 3 years of this. If Aaron Boone nipped it in the bud, and he's like, you need to make the right play here, I'm gonna bench you for this next game. You know? I mean, he should have been benched for that last game where he made all those wrong plays and he cost us a couple of runs against the Blue Jays. That's why we lost the game. He should have been benched for Peraza the next day. Hold him accountable. He doesn't do it. Instead, he gaslights us and tells us he's elite at his position, where there's no metric. There's zero evidence to suggest that that's the case. It's a lie. It's a barefaced lie. I hate being lied to. Nip it in the bud. And you'll see videos from Boone apologists going, well, look at him speaking to JC Escara. Well, it's easy to talk to your third choice catcher,
It's a third straight.
right? It's easy to talk to your third choice catcher who was an Uber driver last year. It's very easy to do that. But how about your fucking golden boy, face of the franchise shortstop, who they all bow down to, and tell us that he's a brilliant when he's not? Well, why not hold him accountable? Because he's doing a hell of a lot worse than Escara has been. Now, Escara with those two, don't get me wrong. I mean, that's dreadful catching. Don't get me wrong. The constant player interference, but Volpe is costing us runs, a lot of them on a daily basis. Escara plays once every 5-6 days, right? Hold your shortstop accountable. He doesn't do it. That's why this thing is a mess. It's very easy to talk to your Uber driver. How about talk to your shortstop?
It goes back to Donald, during our last award segment last week. Why I gave Terry Francona the award.
Yes.
You got my boy award because his statement to O'Neill was De La Cruz. He's like, after that base running blunder in the late innings, he pulls him in his office and he simply says, and he repeats it on his post game presser. Big league players don't make little league mistakes.
Boom.
Right? Didn't chew him out. Didn't embarrass him in front of everybody. But this is your star player. You gotta make a statement. You gotta make a point. And De La Cruz, the next game, cleaned all his mistakes up. He had a great game. Why? Because one, the manager had his back but held him accountable. The manager has to be balanced. Boone is not balanced. He's he wants to be everybody's friend. It's like you have that one parent that never wants to yell at you because I don't want my kid to hate me. So I'm just gonna give him everything he wants. I'm not gonna, there's no timeouts, no, you're never grounded. Come home whenever you want. Here's the key. That is not, that's not how you gain control of your house.
Right.
The kids can't run the house. The players can't run the clubhouse. The manager has to.
The inmates can't run the asylum. And there's ways to do it, right? All you got to do is, you can tell Volpe, you're better than this.
Yeah.
You've got to clean this up. We can't accept this. This is unacceptable. And you can say that in a press game. I told Anthony the way that throw, you can't have that. You're better. He's better than that. We know he's better than that. There's ways to do both. Right. Hold the player accountable and still kind of puff them up a little bit so you're not trying to kill their confidence. I know these are grown men we're talking about and they shouldn't have to be coddled, but there's ways to do it. I know you're better than this. I expect better than this. We can't be having these mistakes. So because of that, I'm going to sit you. And you're going to work on these things. Why are we not seeing these guys working on every single game? They should be working on these things. These are little things that we should be doing and we should be seeing from our manager and hearing from our manager, and we're not. Instead, we're getting, that's baseball. I'm fine with it. Yep. Oh, you didn't like him stealing third base? Hell yeah, let him do it again.
Oh yeah.
So what does Anthony Volpe say? I'll make that throw again. Everything that Boone says is reflective and it's passed down from him to the roster, and they're okay with it, and that's the issue.
Yep.
It doesn't need to be this strict, military type of setting where everyone's got to fall in line. You can still have a very relaxed atmosphere in the clubhouse, but as long as there's some accountability to where guys know, if I fuck up, I'm gonna get some sort of repercussions from it. They're not gonna fuck up. It's the same way in life at your job. If you can have the best relationship, you said it before, Tats, you can have a great relationship with your boss, but if you mess something up, he's going to get on you for it. Yep. But it's not going to kill your relationship with your boss because 9 times out of 10 you're not going to make that mistake anyway, but he's just got to do his job. It's a simple thing. These are professional baseball players that are making millions and millions and millions of dollars. They don't need to be coddled. They don't need to be told how good they are. They're professionals. They know they're good. We don't need to hear it. We know they're good, some of them. We know how good some of these players are. We don't need to hear it left and right. So all we want to do is know that our manager is making sure that he's taking every necessary step to make sure these mistakes that we're seeing day in and day out don't keep happening. But they keep happening, and that's why the fan base is sitting here like, why should we be okay with this? Why are you trying to tell us that we're okay? Like we should be okay with this? We shouldn't be.
6 years of this, bro. Before we sign off, let's go through some of the comments because we've got a lot of really good comments in the chat, and we want you guys to know that we are paying attention and we really appreciate. We just had so much to talk about. I mean, my God. I mean, I could go on for another couple of hours about Aaron Boone. You know it. But let's get into some of the comments in the chat. Boone needs to be a guest on this show. Oh, bro, he'd be.
Does he really want to be a guest on the show?
I would tear him a new one. Let's go through some of these comments here. Doron says no one is available right now to replace Volpe. Well, whose fault is that? That's the Yankees' fault. They've given him the red carpet treatment without any backup shortstop. Well, Peraza, but they don't like Peraza. Peraza's a much better shortstop than Volpe is. There's not even a question about it, but he can't hit. But you can Volpe, so hey. But no, I mean, that's the Yankees' fault. They had every opportunity to give Volpe some competition. They gave everybody else competition. They gave Dominguez competition with Trent Grisham and Ballinger, and he's made him rotation. Why is Volpe get special treatment, or he gets no competition whatsoever? My God, Ben Rice is having to play like 3 positions just to get on the field, right? But Volpe doesn't have to do anything. Who cares? I'm going to play every day. That's on the Yankees. TC Seal says Volpe should have been in the minors a month ago to hold him accountable. Absolutely. I agree, but I love that TC Steele's Boone is the Disneyland dad. That is spot on. Duran's got a very good point here. The boss despise mediocrity. The Yankees revel in it now. Brian Cashman, Aaron Boone, Hal Steinbrenner, they love the mediocrity now. They love it. They revel in it. And they gaslight you to tell you that you should be happy with it. And now you got Jeff Passan telling you should be happy with it too. So obviously their gaslighting works, but not for us. Let's go into some more of these comments here. TC Steele's good to see him in chat. I've not seen him in a while. Yankees should be 10 games in front of Tampa and Toronto. This is a disgrace.
Yep.
Boone does not run the team. He's going nowhere. Yeah, he is going nowhere. He's going to stay for forever. He's going to get a lifetime contract. Might as well. What other comments have we got here? What about playing 2 men short for like 3 games? They're going to give the excuse because they're in Canada. Dude, they've used the excuse about the turf. Well, the turf doesn't seem to be bothering Toronto too much.
They're hitting it in the air and going over the wall.
Right.
For a team that loves launch angles so much, the Yankees sure do hit it on the ground a lot.
Oh, yeah. But, dude, it doesn't matter. They could be playing anywhere, bro. Timbuktu, and they'll have an excuse. You know what I'm saying? They could be playing the most perfect. They could be playing in the fucking Field of Dreams Park, right? And then they'd find a reason to complain about it because they need an excuse.
They could play on Mars. They'll complain about gravity.
Right. It's the same thing. They just need excuses. It doesn't really matter.
They'll still hit ground balls on Mars.
They'll still find a way to hit a double play with bases loaded and nobody out on fucking Mars, and they'll blame it on the goddamn gravity. Or they'll say, "Oh, the flag from 1969 was blocking our view." They'll make some excuse.
Our flight was delayed.
Yeah, well, our shuttle got there a little bit later than theirs, so.
Right. They need excuses. That's what it is. It's absurd. Thanks to everybody that commented, and salute to all of you guys. Please do hit the like button because you guys got the truth for an hour and 10 minutes, whether you like it or not. You got the truth, so please do share it out because we want this to start reaching some of the higher ups here. We need them to come across this shit because this is not acceptable. And it's not just because we're angry fans, we're upset and all that stuff. you're kind of upsetting your own brand. You market yourselves on prestige and being the best of the best, the big bad Yankees. That's been your whole like marketing thing, right? For years, that's how you sell tickets, right? Even though you have no wins to back it up since 2009, you still market yourselves as the big bad Yankees, the fully operational Death Star, and all of your stuff. But you don't back it up because instead you show up half-assed. You don't even know if you're going to play one. Sometimes they might not even be bothered to play this game. Hey, who cares? Hell, we'll get them tomorrow. That's their attitude. Oh, we'll get them tomorrow. We'll get them tomorrow. Oh, we'll get them tomorrow. Oh, we'll get them tomorrow. And then we get to October. We'll get them next year. Right? That's not the Yankee way. I'm just reminding you guys. We're just reminding you guys what the Yankee way is. That's not the Yankee way. Oh, we'll get them tomorrow. Oh, well, we lost again. Oh, well, we'll get them next year then. That's not the Yankee way. Never was the Yankee way. So stop trying to gaslight us that this is okay. This is far from okay. Far from okay. How could you possibly... And Aaron Judge saying a loss is a loss, absolutely. But how can you guys be possibly okay with this? This is nasty. Awful to look at. It's horrible baseball. It's not entertaining. There's nothing entertaining about this. It's not baseball. Even though that's what Aaron Boone says, oh, this is baseball. It's baseball. That's baseball. It's not baseball. Because this is nasty baseball. You can't field your position. You can't run the bases. You can't hit runners in scoring position. You're 2 for 17. Oh, it's baseball. It's not. It's you. Stop gaslighting us.
And that is going to be the mic drop on the show. And we do thank everybody, as Donald said. We've always say, everybody that's hung out with us this morning. It's almost like a therapy session 3 days a week.
Right.
But we do appreciate everybody. If you haven't already, hit that sub button if you want to join the chat. As we do at all our shows live. If also hit that like button, share this out, your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. It's been the Pitch Track Chronicles. Hope you guys all enjoy the rest of the Toronto series. Hopefully the Yankees get themselves right. If there's ever a week to do it, it would definitely be against a division team leading into the weekend Subway Series. But with that, just want to say the way those pinstripes of pride, more than the Yankee players themselves do, and play hard.